Good evening and welcome to KiniNews. I'm your host, Camelia. Former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak filed a 94 grounds petition of appeal in his 42 million ringgit SRC International corruption case today.
Former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak has submitted 94 grounds in his petition of appeal on his 42 million ringgit SRC International corruption case. Among the grounds mentioned was that both the Kuala Lumpur High Court and Court of Appeal had used their own logic and rationale in contravention of evidence that exonerated him from the 7 counts of abuse of power, criminal breach of trust or CBT, and money laundering. According to a copy of the appeal petition, Najib also claimed that the Court of Appeal had erred in fact and law in affirming the High Court verdict. He alleged that he was aggrieved by the serious errors in fact and law made by both courts in their respective grounds of judgment. He said the courts had failed to properly evaluate evidence and failed to recognize the differences between proven and unproven facts, between inferences that might be permissibly drawn and mere conjecture based on suggestion, unsubstantiated allegations, conjecture, suspicion, and hearsay. Najib claimed that the Court of Appeal also erred in upholding the High Court's findings on the authenticity and admissibility of documents. Najib was found guilty and sentenced to 12 years in jail and a 210 million ringgit fine by the High Court in July 2020. The former Premier's conviction and punishment were upheld by the Court of Appeal in December last year. However, there is a stay of execution on the sentences pending disposal of the former Finance Minister's appeal.
Next, we have an update of the past leaks document. Police said they have begun investigations on the issue and will call up politicians mentioned in the document for questioning.
Police have begun investigating the so-called past leaks document, which detailed alleged political ploys involving 2 of the Islamist party leaders. This came following a report lodged by UMNO President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi last week. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Azmi Abu Qasim told Malaysia Kini that they have launched an investigation into the case and will record statements from all the individuals named in the document. Azmi, however, did not elaborate further on when the politicians will be called to have their statement recorded, or if any of them had already come forward. The purported leaked document contained the alleged findings of 2 past leaders after they visited various figures from UMNO, Bersatu and Pejuang. The names mentioned in the document include several MPs and cabinet ministers. Among others, the document mentioned alleged discussions about expediting court cases involving certain UMNO leaders. This had prompted Zahid, who is facing criminal charges in court, to lodge a report urging the police to investigate the allegations. One of the 2 past leaders named in the document, Ahmad Samsuri Mokhtar, has denied the contents of the document and described it as rubbish.
A DAP MP has called for the government to provide cash aid for individuals who were affected by the flash floods that hit several parts of Kuala Lumpur yesterday.
Segambut MP Hana Yeo wants the government to urgently approve 1,000 ringgit in cash aid for individuals who were affected by the flash flood in parts of Kuala Lumpur yesterday. Yeo said this after visiting several areas that had been affected by the flash floods in her constituency. In a statement, she said water rose up to 2 feet in several areas and damaged furniture including mattresses, school supplies and parked vehicles. Given the approaching Hari Raya celebrations, and as preparations for the celebrations were damaged, she urged the Prime Minister and Federal Territories Minister to urgently approve cash aid of at least 1,000 ringgit for affected individuals. She added that the government needs to find a permanent solution to the flood problem in the capital, as it was a recurring issue and the flood situation has reached disaster level every time heavy rain hits KL. She said, the excuse of heavy rainfall can no longer be used if the government's modus operandi doesn't change. Yesterday, Bernama had reported that flash floods inundated several areas in the Klang Valley following non-stop rain from 3 p.m. The last time Kuala Lumpur faced major flooding was in December last year.
Bersih has called on the Parliamentary Select Committee on the Anti-Hopping Law to not obstruct the public's knowledge and participation in the bill.
The Coalition for Free and Fair Elections, or Bersih, has called on the Parliamentary Select Committee on the Anti-Hopping Law to inform and involve the public on the bill. In a statement today, they said while its full minutes could remain confidential, 4 main elements must be made public. The 4 elements are the meeting dates and platform, key decisions, the evolving draft bill, and stakeholders' written and oral submissions. They said the PSC should not obstruct the public's knowledge and participation in applying the OSA to all its businesses, and pointed out how Commonwealth democracies like the UK, Australia, New Zealand and Canada does not use laws like the OSA to restrict legislative deliberation. They added that the public must be informed and involved so that the resultant bill would meet their expectation and necessary compromises would also enjoy public support. Pengerang MP Azalina Osman Said, who is a member of the PSC, also supported Bersih's call for greater public involvement in the process. Taking to Twitter, she said the anti-hopping law affects voters. Therefore, voters ought to be informed and involved in the lawmaking process of the law. The much-anticipated anti-party hopping bill was not tabled on March 21st or April 11th as originally promised by the federal government. Instead, the Dewan Rakyat decided that the bill needed to be further worked on by an 11-member bipartisan select committee headed by de facto Law Minister Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar.
The mother of Nagendran K. Dharmalingam, a Malaysian inmate in Singapore, had her hearing on the final legal challenge in Singapore to set aside her son's conviction and death sentence today. In an update this evening, it was reported that the final appeal has been dismissed.
The mother of Nagendran K. Dharmalingam, a Malaysian inmate in Singapore, filed a criminal motion in Singapore's Court of Appeal to set aside his conviction and death sentence yesterday. The hearing will be heard today, a day before his execution in Singapore. According to Lawyers for Liberty Chief Coordinator Zaid Malik, the legal challenge was personally filed by Panchalai Supramaniam with the help of friends and activists after being unable to obtain the services of a lawyer in Singapore. He said it had become difficult to secure the services of Singaporean lawyers to take on such legal challenges. This is as lawyers have been consistently penalized and heavily fined by the Attorneys General's chambers and judiciary for doing so, which resulted in Panchalai having to file the case herself in the court registry. He added that Panchalai will also be unrepresented at the hearing. One of Nagendran's lawyers, N. Surendran, claimed the conflict of interest involving Chief Justice Sundaresh Menon, who had presided over and dismissed Nagendran's appeals, was also the AG who prosecuted him. Surendran said Nagendran was denied the right to a fair trial and claimed that Sundaresh had presided over appeals from him on 2 occasions. He said when Nagendran was convicted in 2010 and had his sentence affirmed in 2011, Sundaresh was Singapore's Attorney General at the time. Nagendran is a 33-year-old mentally impaired Malaysian. He was sentenced for a drug trafficking offence in Singapore. He has been on death row for more than a decade for trafficking about 42.7 grams of heroin into the country.
Cosmetics entrepreneur Alif Shukri Kamarzaman has apologized for his controversial Aidilfitri video clip.
Cosmetics entrepreneur Alif Shukri Kamarzaman has apologized over his controversial Aidilfitri video clip when contacted by Malaysia Kini. He said he apologized to everyone over what had happened and called on the public to not involve his family on the issue. Alif had been called up for questioning by the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission today. He arrived at the MCMC building in Cyberjaya at around 10 a.m. this morning. It was reported that he is being investigated under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. Alif added that he would not be able to comment on the investigations for now, and said that he had given his full cooperation to the MCMC. The MCMC had called up all the individuals involved in the controversial video clip to have their statement recorded today. The video clip, depicting a group of male dancers in makeup who display effeminate behavior, had been criticized by many people since its release. It courted controversy as it was said to be unsuitable for public consumption, especially during the holy months of Ramadan.
The apology by Alif came after he was called up for questioning by the MCMC. Previously, Communications and Multimedia Minister Anwar Musa confirmed that the ministry had received a lot of complaints on the video.
The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, or MCMC, will call up individuals involved in cosmetics entrepreneur Alif Shukri Kamarzaman's controversial Aidilfitri video clip. Communications and Multimedia Minister Anwar Musa said this is as the MCMC's preliminary study had revealed there are reasons for an investigation to be conducted. With that, he said that an investigation paper has been opened on the matter under Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998, and notices have been issued to the identified individuals, and they have been asked to show up at the MCMC headquarters in Cyberjaya today. He added that the ministry had also received a lot of complaints on the issue. This includes from the Prime Minister's department, and especially the Department of Islamic Development Malaysia. He said concerns were raised over the video clip, as it contained elements that were contradictory to the country's norms and practices. The video clip, which has gone viral on social media, depicted a group of male dancers in makeup who display effeminate behavior, has courted controversy as it was said to be unsuitable for public consumption, especially during the holy months of Ramadan.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Camelia. Thanks for watching.